Welcome back to the green room. If your content is getting saved, liked, and even shared, but your sales are slowing down, this episode is for you and it might sting a little bit because the problem isn't the algorithm or the war or any of the stuff that's happening. Of course, these are all aspects that affect each and every one of us, but it's that your content is too easy to consume and too safe to act on. And we're going to talk about it today in this episode. So let's get straight into it. Your content is not underperforming because of the algorithm changes. Like, let's get real. The algorithm changes every 2 weeks. It's underperforming because it's easy to consume. It's too safe to act on. Okay. Right now, you're probably feeling like, well, I'm doing everything right. I'm posting every day. I'm posting consistently. Some of you are even posting multiple times a day or have been taught to post multiple times per day. You're giving value. You're educating your audience ad nauseum. You're nurturing to the point of maybe you're even like breastfeeding them for them, for God's sake. And yet, inquiries are slowing down, sales are getting more inconsistent, and you're working harder than ever. Your calendar is busier than ever, and this is not exactly the freedom that you set your business up for, right? It's not that you have a content problem, you know how to create content and you have so much to say, but it's the conversions that are just not happening. So I was speaking to a client, an old client recently, and I remember at the beginning of her working with me, she used to post every single day carousels, reels, YouTube videos, long form content, educational content, value content, all of it. It was great. It was fantastic. She was getting saves, she was getting shares, she was getting people telling her, wow, this is so helpful. Thank you for the tips. And behind the scenes, the inquiries were inconsistent. There was no real momentum happening in her sales. And she said to me, I don't really understand what's going on. People love my content. They tell me they love my content. So why are they buying? That is what we want to fix because you've been taught to give more value. And for you, giving more value means educating more people, educating your audience, building trust through your content, which is all great. But what's actually happening? Your content is training people to stay where they are. It's satisfying the desire for more information. And we know that it's not information that people need more of, it's solutions. People don't have a problem to access information. We are abundant. There's an overflow, an overproduction, an oversupply of information at the click of a button. Anyone with a computer and an internet connection has access to lots of information as much as you do. But what they don't have access to is your mentorship. It's your guidance. It's your solutions and how to effectively implement whatever it is that they're trying to implement. So what's happening? They save your contents. That makes them feel productive. They've done something. They've taken an action, and they tell themselves that they'll come back to it, and then they never do, right? They don't take a decision. Your content is actually training them not to take a decision. You're training them to save for later, but not to act now. Or even worse, you get them so well educated, they go and pay and work with someone else, possibly even with half your expertise. Because let's face it, anyone with a GPT account, an whatever AI account can create content today. Education does not create buyers. It creates whatever information seekers, researchers, whatever it is, right? And here are two types of content that we're seeing all the time. Okay. And a lot of the time I'm seeing people stuck in the wrong one. One of them is creating content for algorithm. And this is the algorithm content. It gets reach, it gets saves, it gets people to consume. You're constantly hooked to your insights and professional dashboard to see how much impressions and reach and engagement it got. And the other one is sales trigger content, the one that's actually triggering inquiries, that is getting people in the DMs reaching out to you, that creates self-recognition in your audience, that calls out the real problems, that makes someone in your audience, your ideal client avatar, feel this is exactly what I am going through. And this is when we shifted her content from education based to sales trigger based. It meant less posts, more potency, more direct messaging, more her in personality. Her inquiries didn't just increase, they got better. Faster decisions, faster sales were happening. in the moment instantly with higher quality clients that are staying with her for longer, even. So your audience is also not a beginner anymore. There's a level of sophistication that has changed, and thank God for that. Okay. However, when we're still creating content such as 10 tips to reduce anxiety or what to eat to lose weight, we're not attracting buyers, right? And your content is likely being thrown around and saved or just overlooked by your premium buyers because they've already tried all of these things. And now your content is starting to sound like a blog that people have written back in 2005. Okay, that kind of content, there is an abundance, there's an oversupply of that. One says this, the other one says that, all of them say the same thing. This is not working, okay? Now we're all speaking to buyers at different stages, and that's absolutely okay. But if you are in the space of transformation and change and impact, you are likely, highly likely, wanting to attract a client who is ready to invest, not only invest money, but who is ready to do the work, who is committed to see the change, who is committed to go through the transformation that is required to get the end result that they so desire, right? So likely they've already tried some things, likely they've already done the research, likely they've already followed the advice, and maybe it didn't stick or it didn't work for whatever reasons. And now these are the reasons that you get to point out to them. And they're going, aha, this is why this is not happening. She knows why this is not happening. She can see all of the patterns. She can see where it goes wrong and how it goes wrong. She knows her shit. She knows this stuff better than I do. I need to go and work with that person because that's who's going to help me get to what I want. You see the difference now? They're looking for a solution that's not working for them. They're looking for a solution to their desires, to their outcomes, to whatever is not working right now for them. There was a point where I realized this in my own content. I was being so helpful. I was teaching whatever the difference between this marketing and that marketing. I was teaching people how to optimize their profile. I was giving value and all of the great stuff. And people were engaging. They were even saving my stuff, but they weren't moving. They weren't actually buying from me, or they weren't really buying that next step, right? And this is the shift I made. And now the shift I made was not only tactical, it was personal. It was uncomfortable because I stopped trying to be liked. When we create content for the algorithm, when we're performing for the algorithm, I have seen this over and over and over again. There is an element of validation that comes through, an ego boost that comes through with likes and shares and comments and engagement, right? Except your business doesn't run on Meta's likes and shares and comments. Your business runs on cash. Your business runs on clients. No cash, no clients, no business, basically. So I started saying what people actually needed to hear, calling out patterns, sharing my insights, naming what wasn't working and what is working, and in which cases, speaking to the person who's already tried inverted commas, everything. And then that's where everything started changing. I started getting higher quality clients, people who decide faster, people who take action, people who are committed to the process, people who are willing to do things differently, people who are willing to stay in the game when it's fucking boring and tedious and monotonous. Yes, sometimes I force my clients to get bored because that's so simple. The success lies in that simplicity. We overcomplicate things because we expect things to always be ecstatic and exciting. But instead, what we do is we add layers of complexity and complications that are unnecessary, that don't actually help us drive the results that we need. What happened? It looked like cleaner sales. It looked like less content, more impact. It looked like posting when I actually had something to say instead of posting just for the sake of saying it, because people didn't want to feel just informed with whatever's going on. They want to feel seen and they want solutions to take action. And this is the people who are ready to buy their top or who are ready to buy my clients top dollar, top tier offerings without flinching, without batting an eyelid. Okay, this is the difference. So instead of asking, is this valuable? Am I adding value here? Am I educating? Am I teaching them something new? Ask yourself, does this call out a real problem that they're experiencing? Does this make them feel seen? Or is it just informing? Does this lead them towards taking a decision? Does this trigger an action outside of let me save this for later? Here's what this looks like. Instead of saying, for example, here's how to reduce anxiety, you can say, you're not failing at managing your anxiety. You've just been given tools that only work when life is calm. Now, someone reads that and thinks, ooh, that's exactly what's happening. Like these tools make sense when everything is fine and dandy, but when shit really hits the fan, I cannot access these tools. How can I apply these tools? Right? So instead of saying, if you're into weight loss, for example, I love using weight loss examples because they're simple and easy to understand. Here are 5 ways to lose weight, or here are 3 ways to lose weight. You don't struggle with weight loss. You're struggling with consistency after week 2. And here's what's happening then, right? And now this is not only just information. This is like, holy shit, there's a specific insight, there's a specific time where X thing is happening, and this is resulting in inconsistency, and this is why I'm not getting the result. Now it makes sense, right? You're not just information, it's a mirror. You're mirroring them. And this is the shift where instead of explaining, you're diagnosing. And instead of just diagnosing and calling out problems, you're also providing solutions. Because the moment someone feels, this person sees exactly what I'm going through, that's when they move. That's when they're like, holy shit, this is what's happening to me. I need the fix. I need this next thing. So if your content disappears tomorrow, would your audience miss your 5 tips? Or would they miss the one person who actually tells them things as they are, who tells them the truth about what's working, what's not working, and why? Because the people who win in this market, they're not the ones who just teach the most. They're the ones who make their audience see what they couldn't see on their own. They're the ones who open their eyes. They're the ones who trigger action. How does this look like in your content? I'd love to know.